Here we go again. Max Halloway out at UFC 226. Here we go again, meaning International Fight Week for the fourth year in a row is plagued with another injury. Go back a couple years ago, UFC 200, the Conor McGregor-Nate Diaz fight fell through. The John Jones fight fell through. The Amanda Nunes fight fell through. John Jones versus DC2 fell through on its original target date of UFC 200. DC had to fight Anderson Silva. Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko last year fell apart. And now the co-main event for UFC 226 International Fight Week 2018, Max Halloway versus Brian Ortega. Halloway is out for that fight. News broke late last night. I wanted to keep everybody posted on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast Facebook page and Twitter. Among many other sports headlines, baseball, Manny Machado, the trade watch, all that stuff. The Indians, the Diamondbacks are very, very high on him, top suitors. But in the sport of MMA, in the UFC, Max Halloway versus Brian Ortega was one of the most highly anticipated fights of the year. There's no doubt about that. One of my top three most highly anticipated fights. The other being Miocic versus DC. And the other obviously being Conor versus Khabib being the number one fight, which I have no idea whether or not that's going to happen or not. So, that isn't even signed yet. So, signed fights, I guess I could say Miocic, DC, Ortega, Halloway, and then maybe Dillashaw Garbrandt too. Maybe we'll throw that one in there. But regardless, Max Halloway being pulled from this card, it's led me down a lot of different thinking paths, most of which are not good for Max Halloway as far as his future. The fact that his management came out and said that he was tough to wake up due to the grogginess that he had. He had, they didn't actually see or witness the quote-unquote concussion, but it had a residual, gradual effect in his training, in his preparation, in the lead-up to his bout versus Brian Ortega. So much to the fact that during an interview with Michael Bisping on UFC Tonight yesterday, Max Halloway seemed very groggy. His eye, his right eye looked a little glazed over. It looked very tired. Just looked completely depleted and exhausted. And I know the difference in watching fights and just my own personal experience of weight cutting. I've never seen a fighter look like that from a weight cut. He looked different. His skin color looked different. He was groggy. His speech was slurred. It was painfully obvious that he was going through something. And to hear that it was a concussion, or that these symptoms are concussion-related, I should say, is not good for the future of Max Halloway. It's not good for the future of the UFC. It's not good for the future of the featherweight division. Because Max Halloway does cut a lot of weight. He cuts down realistically from 170 or 165 to 145. He's a very big guy as well. 5'10", 5'11". So fighting at featherweight is a huge advantage for him. Fighting at featherweight's a big advantage, and moving down that much weight is a huge disadvantage. But this was not related to the weight, and I want to make that known. This was related to a concussion. These symptoms were related to a concussion, and I gotta say, I hope that Max comes back strong, comes back healthy. But usually, when there's concussion-related symptoms, it's not going to get any better. The damage has been done. And at this young stage of Max Halloway's career, you got to wonder, what's the future hold for this kid? What does the future hold? UFC tried to rebook the fight with Ortega in an interim title fight, but I think he learned his lesson from Frankie Edgar to not take on any fighters, to not take anybody on and to go a different route, wait for Max to come back, or wait for the UFC to potentially strip Max Holloway of the featherweight title, which could realistically happen due to these health issues. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take. Take care, everybody.